All right. So, hi everyone. Thank you for sticking with us in this interesting day, which has its ups and downs. And well, we will continue now with our very special fireside chat with Joya, as you may have seen. I would
Joyce.
like to welcome Yes, but Joya. I would like to welcome Joyce Gioia, CEO of the HERMAN Group of companies. Joyce, would you like to say hello to the participants?
Hello, everyone. I said hello in chat, but hello again. It's my privilege to be here with you today.
It's our honor
Did you want
to
me to
have
say
you.
more?
You have such a no. It's perfect. It's you have such an interesting and impressive background. I would like to read out your bio because I'm not
Thank
sure
you.
that everybody has read it. As Joy started her first business at the age of 14, which is very interesting, and she never looked back ever since then. At the age of 28, she was the youngest national magazine publisher in the United States. She worked for the Direct Marketing Group in New York City and was responsible for some groundbreaking promotional programs, including one of the first syndications between a catalog and a magazine. This is very interesting. She's also, as a celebrity futurist, she has appeared over 70 times on local and national television in the US, New Zealand, and Ghana. As a professional speaker, Joyce has spoken in 13 countries, in 47 of the United States and 7 continents. Wow. And on 7 seas. Very interesting. Her HERMAN Trend Alert is read weekly by 29,000 people in 90 countries in 3 languages. And Joyce is often quoted in the media, including in the US in the Industry Week, Time, Entrepreneur, Forbes, and she has also written a total of 6 books, including 3 bestsellers. Sorry for my voice, it's been a long day. We have been doing this for almost 8 hours now. So let's start with our
Well, I want to thank
talk
everybody
today.
for sticking with us. I want to thank everybody for sticking with it, and I will do my best to give you some new perspectives, insights, and valuable information that you can take and make your life better.
Yes, that's something that we all need, especially today. There were talks about all the gloom and boom. So you have an impressive background and you have been up to many things. So ever since this pandemic hit, what have you been doing differently during this challenging time?
So much is different in my life because before my life was getting on airplanes, and now since March 15th I haven't gotten on an airplane. So I have called this an opportunity. I have started an intense fitness program. I've gotten rid of, hopefully never to be seen again, 20 pounds. That's about 9 kilos of weight. I've started an herb garden out in the back of my house, which, by the way, used to fail miserably because I would get on airplanes and nobody would water the herbs, and then they would all die. And it was very frustrating. So I now have one of the things that I really wanted, which was an herb garden, so that when I cook with my husband, and we're now doing a meal program, that's the kit that comes, and we get organic vegetables to cook some really wonderful meals through a service called Purple Carrot. And I do the chopping of the vegetables so that there are any left by the time it's time to cook them, because otherwise my husband loves vegetables and sometimes there's a lot missing. On a more work side, I've been speaking at conferences like this one around the world and enjoying it. I've been working with my Futurist Association. I happen to serve as vice chair of the Association of Professional Futurists. So we had an international virtual meeting called Collaborate 2020 that was pretty cool. So I spent some time on that. I've been researching and thinking a lot about what comes next. And as Zoltán told you, my HERMAN Trend Alert goes out weekly. You can sign up for it at www.hermantrendalertcom. And I've been talking a lot about what I call normal 2.0. I've also, and we'll tell you about that more a little later in the program. I've also been creating global strategic alliances between my organization. It's a very exciting time, and I've tried to make them. My husband has some of those underlying conditions, so I have to be super careful. I have a raincoat, which I call my PPE, my personal protective equipment, and I only wear it when I go to the store. And then we wand it with light when I come back. So I'm being as careful as I can be, and yet still maintaining sort of an equilibrium.
Okay, well, that's good to hear, especially in these interesting times. I think we're having some issues with the connections, so we will take a short
My connection?
30 seconds pause in which both of our connections. So I would like to ask Joyce to refresh your page, and I will do the same. Okay, and we will be
Sure. I have the ability to hardwire this, which I forgot to do. So let me get that done while I'm refreshing. Okay. See you soon.
hi
Hello. Is this
again.
any better?
Yes, yes, it's better
Good.
now. There was some sort of connection
Excellent.
problem earlier, so we are now back online. So let's continue our talk in regards to this period, which is very interesting. You call it normal 2.0, but I also call it that it's a time for to bring innovation, and it's not a new normal. Actually, it's something that can help us
Correct.
push our boundaries and reflect on things. So, in your opinion, what are the winners and losers that COVID-19 has brought with it?
Well, first of all, let me just explain for just a moment why I call it normal 2.0. May I? We have a delay,
of
so
course.
I'm just going to go ahead and do it. Okay. So when people were talking about the new normal, it seemed like they were talking about going back to something. But what I perceived is that we weren't going back, we were going forward. And as we were going forward, we were going into a new version of normal. And that's why I came up with the term normal 2.0. And in this normal 2.0, we've had lots of losers, but we've also had lots of winners. The very platform that we're speaking on today is one of those winners, because we've all needed to have online platforms. So you've got all kinds of online platforms that are popping up all over the place to fill that void. And Zoom obviously is going nuts. So much so that you have to have a password to get into a two-person meeting now. It's kind of crazy. But so we've had other winners. Let me talk about the losers so that I can end on the winners. So the losers. We've had several retail chains go out of business here in the United States, and I'm guessing elsewhere in the world as well. We've also had local restaurants take a big hit, and I can't believe that it's not happening all over the world, because local restaurants, at least here in the United States, can only now open to about 50% capacity. And since they can only open to 50% capacity, that means typically they would only be earning 50% of their revenue. And so this is an opportunity for you. And I'm going to, throughout this presentation, I'm going to expose opportunities for you in your work as marketers. One of the opportunities is to work with your local restaurants and help them to create what I call a meal program. It's a prepaid meal program. I found this at a restaurant in Chicago the night before I left on March 14th, and I've even written about it in my trend alert. The way that it works is that people pay their favorite local restaurant. They typically eat out a lot. They pay a certain price for something like 15 or 20 or 30 meals a month. And then they can either order off the menu, or the restaurant might have a set plan that they would offer. That wouldn't work for me because I don't like spicy food. But the restaurant would then be able to offer this meal plan to its local patrons, and in that would be able to have some consistency of income throughout the month. The second idea is that typically the restaurants have some special sauce or some special recipe that they give that is unique to them. There are some restaurants here in the United States that have chosen to begin to bottle those in small and large quantities so that people can take them home and enjoy them at home without coming into the restaurant as much. That addresses restaurants. I also want to address local retailers. Now, your local retailers may not be as internet savvy as you are, and you have an opportunity to help them take their shop and put it online. It's not rocket science. There are some turnkey programs that they could buy, and you could help them with the copy, right? With the web design, possibly the graphics, and help them to have the best site that would reflect not only what they're selling, but also the local culture of the neighborhood, which is always a unique selling proposition because people want something that has what we call a cachet or a feeling of unique. Okay, so those are the mostly I've addressed the losers. Some of the other, well, wait a minute now. There's one more category of losers that I want to address, and that is tourism. Because tourism has taken a huge hit as a result of COVID. And maybe there's a way for you to put that site, help that site do like a video walkthrough and have that site be able to show the world what they can come to when we're out of the woods with COVID. Okay, now some more of the winners. There are businesses that are breaking sales records right and left. And it's things like the big box stores and online marketers. Online marketers, the delivery services in the US can't hire drivers fast enough. So they could use your help in terms of recruiting. You may not have thought about the fact that to recruiting, but it's a big field and can really make a difference for employers who have not been able to find the people that they're looking for if you know where to look for them. For instance, putting a notice on social media for them, or in some other like local newspaper or college newspaper that they hadn't thought of before. Okay, the other kinds of winners that are doing amazingly well are furniture stores. Furniture stores. Why? Because our homes have now become our offices, our homes, and our play place. In a corner of their apartment that's dedicated to fitness, or a corner of their apartment that's dedicated to their hobbies. They're taking the space that the other types of companies that are doing extremely well are the home improvement companies. And so if you have a local hardware store, they could probably use your help in helping them get online and selling what they have to offer better to the local market. Your turn, Zoltán.
Okay, so yes, it's, I was thinking about some of these points that some of these bullet points that you pointed out, and it gives a lot of possibilities for many people to adjust their business. So I'm curious about this normal 2.0. So could you talk a bit more about this concept, and are there any other opportunities that we could capitalize on now?
Yes. Do you know the name Martin
can start.
Lindstrom?
I think we
I'm
have
guessing
a delay.
you do.
Yeah.
And well, Martin Lindstrom wrote an article, and you can find it by just looking in LinkedIn under Martin Lindstrom. He wrote an article about the fact that there is now a new point of entry. Before this time, we had 6 marketing, the point of marketing entries that we knew about. Of course, birth, marriage, and in the United States, we used to call that the new household formation market. The arrival of a child, the departure of that child to college, the setting up the new household for that independent person. So all of these were opportunities to sell people stuff. Now we have a new one. As a result of COVID, there has been a new, what Lindstrom calls a somatic marker. And what that means is that it's had this whole lockdown and anxiety and fear, and some people have even had PTSD as a result. But all of this has had a permanent effect on our neural pathways, making us feel like we value connection. In the US, more people have acquired dogs. And as you know, as marketers, what that means is that the pet care business is going nuts. And it is here in the United States. It's another one of the winners. By the way, I'm a dog person who owns a cat. So you have my permission to feel sorry for me. I cannot be near the cat. I'm allergic. So it's very, very frustrating sometimes. But this new somatic marker, wanting to create that connection, that new connection with others. People want to be connected. People want to have the opportunity to feel from each other. And I've thought about what other businesses might capitalize on that concept. And I've come up with possibly one where you could sell a business that would provide connections, a regular check-in with older folks in conditions who are not allowed to leave their home spaces because it's very serious. They might get sick. And for those people. Also, I'm sure you're aware that there are numerous concierge services that have popped up to help people. Now, let me give you a little bit of a glimpse into the future. And the doom and gloom, I'm going to keep to a minimum, but I am going to give you the reality of the situation. COVID-19 is a symptom of what we may expect going into the future. The reality is that if you look at how effective the influenza vaccines have been in the past, they have been 20 to 40% effective at the most. At 1 year, I guess 3 or 4 years ago, it did get as high as 50, but that was the max. So in the last 3 years, it's been 20 to 40% effective. Now, what that means, possibly, because this novel coronavirus is an influenza, honestly, what this means is that even if we have a vaccine, it may only be 50% effective. Now, will I take it? You betcha. Yes, I will take it for sure. Why? Because 50% is better. I need to be extremely careful. I need to keep wearing a mask. I need to keep washing my hands. I need to keep physically distancing from others so that I can keep my husband and me safe. it's not pretty spawn other opportunities that you can capitalize on. Think about it, and maybe we can do some brainstorming together in the Q&A part if you're interested in that. Your turn, Zoltán.
And well, in the connection, so how did you come to the understanding that led you to write your new book, which is coming out soon, I think, which is titled Experience Rules: How
Yes.
Positive Experiences Will Drive Profit into the Futures?
Back
You can
in
go ahead.
1998, I am. Back in 1998, I looked around and I saw that people were wanting more and more extreme experiences. There was spicier food and more extreme sports and more extreme television. And that led me to write a trend alert called Experience Junkies, because people were craving these stronger and stronger experiences. And so I began to think about, okay, if people are craving these strong, and by the way, it was published in Delta's in-flight magazine called Sky. That's how effective it was. Other people agreed with me that that was, in fact, the case. So then fast forward to a time when I needed to write a part of an article for the Futurist magazine. And I said, okay, if people are craving these increasingly intense experiences, then perhaps companies will want to take advantage of that and have a director of experience. This was back in the early 90s. The early 2000s. And so then I started saying, well, maybe not a director of experience, maybe even a vice president of experience. And that led me to think, okay, vice president of experience, and the article got published, vice president of experience, and people responded to it. And then, this is the kicker, I began to see consulting companies, a consulting company dedicated to the consumer experience. After all, there were CXOs being hired at IT companies, software companies, looking at the user experience, right? Some of you may be user experience marketers, in fact. And then I saw that following that, there was a whole cadre of consulting companies organized to take advantage of the employee experience. How do we engage employees at a higher level? And then I saw consulting companies for investors, which meant that there was the investor experience that was being valued as well. And I said, well, wait a minute now. Employees, customers, investors, if all of those stakeholders are important, why not all of the stakeholders? And that led me to think about, okay, so what do marketers look at when they want to look at the customer journey? And what if we looked at the journey for all of the different stakeholder groups? And I include not only customers and employees and investors, but also suppliers and vendors, the families of employees, the families of customers, the community. And for some, like for healthcare organizations, it's patients. For schools, it's students, those are their customers. So I looked at all of these different stakeholder groups in my book. So now why don't you ask me the next question?
Yeah, this is very interesting. And I remember we talked about this position, and I've mentioned that this new position in the O zone, the sea level zone, how we like to call it, is going to be interesting. And as I understand that in this book, you forecast that there will be a new office for these people. And
Yes.
what is the?
Yes.
How is that different
Yes.
from the CXOs in software companies and health system? Because I think there's a big difference between these two.
Yes, there is. The difference is that the CEXO, and it's spelled capital C, capital E, lowercase XO, that person will be responsible for all of the messaging, branding, and advertising for all of the stakeholders, not just employees and patients like in health systems, or customers and users like in IT systems. So that person that person will probably come from the marketing ranks. And by the way, it will probably be, interestingly, a woman.
Okay. So yes, this is very futurist thinking. And how does this? What does this development mean for marketing professionals? Since we are talking now at a marketing conference.
Sure. Well, that means you have more openings. You will have more openings for marketers. It means that marketers will be more highly valued. And it means that marketers can look at how they could be serving people who are experiencing adversity now. And that goes for companies as well as individuals. Companies as well as local businesses like restaurants and retail stores.
Okay.
You have an opportunity.
Well, so it's not all that.
An opportunity to just look. You have an opportunity to look for the holes. Look for the holes in the market. Look for the markets that are not being served, and then maybe get together and create a startup around it. Who knows? Maybe many of our audience today will end up being COVID millionaires tomorrow. Who knows?
Yeah, that's an interesting term. And what advice do you have for marketing professionals who want to emerge successfully from this pandemic? As now, as you stated, COVID millionaires.
Yes, well, as I said, look for the holes in the market. Look for, just because people are suffering, maybe there's a way to help people, for you all to help people be more resilient. There may be apps that you could help promote. And by the way, apps that respond to needs that are created by this COVID pandemic are also in need of marketers. So look for the opportunities out there. There are many. And here's a really interesting point. Because so much of business now is virtual, it means that you are able to work from just about anywhere, as long as you're willing to adjust your sleep cycle. It means that you could work for a business on the other side of the planet, as long as you're willing to, or or maybe they're willing to be flexible. Or if you're like me and don't need a lot of sleep, then that's another point of view. But there are opportunities for you. Just look for them and you will find them. And if you need help, I'm willing to brainstorm with you. You can email me at joyce@hermangroup.com and we'll set up a Zoom meeting and we'll brainstorm opportunities for you.
Okay, by the way, everybody, this conference is not sponsored by Zoom, as it's not sponsored by Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, etc. We need to point this out because we have been talking about them all day long. Okay, in the meantime, if you would like to submit questions, you can do it via the platform. I see there are already a couple of questions.
What is the... Good.
Okay. Okay, so what's next for you now?
Oh, well, this isn't a question from the audience. This is a question for me. So what's next for me?
No,
my book
this is a
coming
question
out
for you. Yeah.
And yes, my microphone appears to be noisy. Okay. Is that helpful? Is that better? Perhaps.
It's good.
Okay. My book is coming out. I expect to be doing a virtual book launch, which means I'm going to be busy giving book readings and talking with people in this way, possibly all over the US. And then I'm also speaking at conferences like this one. I'm so glad we were able to make the time zones work, in spite of the fact that this is late afternoon for you and morning for me. So that's what's next for me. Just more speaking, more being virtual, reaching out and touching as many people as I possibly can. I live to serve, and I'm getting to do a lot of that now.
Okay. Yes, and thank you so much for getting up a bit earlier in the morning, for taking part in this conference.
No worries.
And I will take a question from the platform from Diana, who is asking you, when do you think that this pandemic will be over, and do you predict more job losses?
In the US, there will be significant job losses until January, when hopefully we will have a change of leadership. Fingers crossed, toes crossed. Democracy is not a spectator sport. Other parts of the world have not been hit as hard as the United States, and it's because the response of our leadership has been horrible. It's been criminal in my view. And it's cost us hundreds of thousands of lives, or will by the time it's over. Okay, when will it be over? I don't know that this is, I think we're changed forever. I think that many people will still be working virtually with all of the different businesses that are supported by that. I think that we will be wearing masks, and I explained that even when we have a vaccine, unless we have a vaccine that's a lot more effective than the previous flu vaccines, we will still need to be masking. I think that 3 years, maybe 2 years from now, we will be in a different position than we are. However, the challenge is unless we get our climate change act together, we are not likely to see the absence of these superbugs and these horrible diseases within the next foreseeable future, and I'm talking about 5 years at least. Now, eventually, eventually we may have some sort of a universal vaccine, which could be amazing. But for right now, we are where we are. Sorry, Diana.
Okay, thank you.
I wish I had better news.
Next question is from Jan. The next question is from Jan, and it's about your book. When is your book coming out? Maybe you can give a specific date, and will it be available in Europe?
Interesting question. It will be available in Europe if I would imagine because it will be on Amazon. So I imagine if there's a demand in Europe, it will be available in Europe. Yes. As long as you can read English. And now as far as translating it into foreign languages, there is one more thing, and that is that, and by the way, I wish that were true. I spent quite a few months in Europe last fall, and I did not find that to be the case. But because I speak French and Spanish, it was helpful. So, yeah, I was able to get by. And German, by the way. Mehr oder wenig. So there was something more. Oh, it won't be available here in the US, Jan, until after the US election. And I'm doing that intentionally because timing is everything, as marketers know. And if you want to get the additional national PR, the additional national exposure, you need to be doing it at a time when there are availabilities to be on. And right now, everything is about COVID and the election. Exactly. And once that's behind us, I think that there will be some other things happening. Back to you. More questions?
Okay. So there's another question coming from Peter. Do you miss going to... Yes, one more.
Jan, you're frozen.
Do you predict that we will be able to attend live network in 2021?
Oh, do I miss it? You know what I miss the most, Peter? Actually, I have some intel about that.
Can you hear me?
Friends, who is launching a new, this will give me a good chance to talk about it. There is on it. Yes, I can. Zoltán, do you want me to take off my... I can't. Okay.
No,
Hello?
no need. Just me.
Zoltán?
No need. It's just, I will cut off my...
Should I take off my... No, I don't need to take off my picture.
Because I have...
Yes, you did.
No.
Okay. So please tell me where we were before technology so rudely interrupted us. Oh, do I miss getting on airplanes? And when will we be back to conferences? Yes, I have that. I know. So the intel is that the vaccine, I was telling you about Ngomu. So I'm going to be doing a training on Ngomu about my book and helping marketers and salespeople and leaders look at applying the concepts in my book. And I'm going to coach them through looking at their stakeholder groups and how to connect with them at a deeper level. And they're doing a free Be More Days event on the 8th, actually. Now, Al Wynant, otherwise known as Werner Allen Wynant, he's Dutch, yes. Al also is a meeting planner. And one of the groups that he plans meetings for is the vaccine industry. And they are not planning in-person events until 2022. So that's the bottom line news. Now, that said, I'm working now with friends from Amsterdam, and we are looking at the possibility of doing an in-person live event for speakers in Amsterdam, looking at the intersection of all of the new technologies and speaking in April. Do I honestly think that we're going to have an in-person event in Amsterdam that I can come to in April? I doubt it. But does that mean I don't hold out a good intention or hope for it? You bet I do. I look forward to it. And do I miss getting on airplanes? More than you can imagine. And the reason is I miss the interaction with people from other cultures. I miss learning a few words of a new language so that I can communicate with people, and knowing how to say please and thank you and in their languages, and learning all of the little things about the cultures and the food. Oh, the food. That's how I gained 20 pounds when I was clinical professor for leadership and innovation aboard Semester at Sea last fall. And that's how I got to travel so much last fall. But then I came back on December 25th. I went in early January, I went to Mexico. Then I was home for a couple of days, and I left for Africa, where I spoke twice in Ghana and then in Namibia. Left for a birthday party in Chicago. And when I got home on March 15th, I haven't been out since. And I really do miss it, yes. Back to you, Zoltán.
Hopefully you can hear me.
I can hear you.
Okay. Yes, it seems we have about 7 seconds delay when I'm talking to you. So I would like to close off this fireside chat by asking you if you have any parting advice for the participants.
Answered. Then they can email me at joyce@hermangroup.com. 1 R, 1 N, all one word, no hyphens, just joyce@hermangroup.com. Maybe you could put that into the chat, Zoltán. And
okay, I will now.
Or maybe I could. No. Okay.
Yes, you can do that too.
And then, yes, my secret to staying positive is to define happiness not as getting everything that I want, but rather appreciating the things that I already have. And I do very much appreciate everything that I have. I am blessed. I am very fortunate. I am fortunate that I am healthy. Thank you, Zoltán, for putting in the correct address. I am fortunate that I am healthy and that I have a home, a lovely home to live in, and Wi-Fi access. I am very lucky and I count my blessings every day. So I would urge you all to do the same. Focus on not what you don't have, but what you have. And you will be much happier in life. May I end this presentation with a little bit of inspiration, Zoltán? Okay, great. So this is a poem that was actually part of a marketing effort by Apple Computer back in 1993. And I walked into my daughter's dorm room and it looked like the walls were alive because the newsprint that was up on the walls started shaking, flapping. And I said to she said, "No, Mom, we just liked it a lot. Read it." And I read it, and it touched me profoundly forever. And I'm going to use it in my ghosts. I call it Live Your Dream. If there were ever a time to worth doing, that time is now. Not for any grand cause necessarily, but for something that tugs at your heart, something that's your aspiration, something that's your dream. You owe it to yourself to make your days here count. Have fun, dig deep, stretch, dream big. Know that things worth doing seldom come easily. There will be good days, and yes, there will probably be bad days. There will be times when you want to turn around, pack it up, and call it quits. But those times come only to remind you that you're pushing yourself and that you're not afraid to learn and grow. Persist, because with an idea, determination, and the right tools, you can do great things. Let your instincts, your intellect, and your heart guide you. Trust, believe in the incredible power of the human mind, in the power of doing things that really make a difference, of working hard, of laughing and hoping, of reaching out and saying, "I love you," of lasting friends, of all the things that will cross your path this year. The start of something new brings the hope of something great. Anything is possible. There's only one you, and you will pass this particular way only once. Live your dream. Make a difference. Thank you all for making the difference that you make in the world. And thank you, Zoltán, for giving me the privilege of addressing your audience today.
Thank you, Joyce. Too bad we are having this bad connection. So these are really inspiring words. And I also thank you for taking part in this fireside chat, and hope that in the near future that we can have it in person somewhere. So if you would like to maybe add something else to this, or we just can say goodbye to everybody and thank you with a virtual applause for taking part in this.
Thank you very much. Stay physically